Right, use the microphone so that the camera can pick it up. Okay, questions, who's got them?
On this side, not that way.
You might want to start, I don't know. I have several, so can we not ask more than one?
Raise your hand, you have a question?
Right there.
Yeah.
Will you stand so we can see?
So my first question is that a lot of people, Jefferson and Community Action Board, different agencies mention how they help families. I just want to clarify, you stated this will not be families, they will be enrolled.
That is correct, we will have.
Just individuals.
Yep, just individuals here. We have another location in Arnold that we can send families to.
Are you limiting your questions? Because I haven't any, but I want to give everyone a chance to talk.
Not limiting,
Okay.
no.
I do have another question for the sheriffs.
Yeah.
So you started this program, I mean, obviously based on a need.
Oh, okay, if the whole panel can come to the front.
If we have questions, we'll go
Okay, go ahead and say your question again.
Okay, so you started your study obviously because based on a need, to find out. Now, in your 6 months, how many, I guess, people did you contact for homeless in Jefferson County?
So in the first 6 months of the program, we had over 200 referrals from different organizations, citizens and stuff in the county. Of those 200 referrals, we contacted 64 people that were legitimately homeless in the aspect of living in a car, in a tent in the woods, sleeping in the woods, in that aspect.
Okay, so,
It's a large number, there's a larger number than that, but that's the core that we counted.
so it's 64 in 6 months.
Yes, and in the past 2 months, we've had probably an additional 20. The temperature changes, we noticed it kind of tends to fluctuate because of influx of people.
Did you include in your study how many of them are willing or wanting to have, supportive programs?
So of those 64, there was 3 individuals that we were able to go from living in the elements to getting into an apartment and more of the traffic in that apartment. It's hard to quantify exactly who wanted help, because at some point in time, all 64 of them received some type of help from us or another organization. Whether they followed through on a long-term plan with that, we don't have a way of tracking, because it gets into some guidelines from agencies and what they can inform to back to us. So we're unable to follow up on that.
Right, because I know that someone had mentioned that, we know that this is going to be determined that actually want to not be homeless. And it's going to be, as I understood, faith-based.
Correct.
Okay, so is that going to be part of the rules and regulations if they don't participate in the Bible?
Absolutely.
Okay, and how do you prepare to handle that if they decide, we don't want to do this no more?
We
And they just
say
decide to walk out?
they're not allowed to walk out. Security gate will be there just as much for them as it is for everyone on the outside. I can tell you that if someone says, hey, this is no longer for me, where would you like to go? Let us give you a ride.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's enough for my business.
Who was next?
Anybody on this side you can hand the mic to? Right behind you.
You said that you wouldn't be getting funding from the county. Where will the funding come from?
So the county is not paying for this. We are putting in for grants and things like that. So we haven't received anything. We haven't received any approvals. The purchase of the property would be with us. We have applied for grants. One of them is a part of the ARPA funding. It hasn't been approved. Jefferson Foundation, and there's other grants and things like that that we can apply for. But this isn't a county-run thing that they are putting in their budget.
But currently, where are the funds? I mean, is your church going?
Our church is going to purchase the property, our funds.
And you have the funds?
We can purchase the property.
You have the funds?
Yeah, that's for our members, but we're going to purchase the property, so I don't know the
Well, I'll
differences.
tell you why I'm asking is because my concern is if the grants all go away tomorrow, which they do, sometimes when things change, the grants go away too, or sometimes they're just a temporary. If they're all gone, what happens to this property? How is it supported?
So we are actually bringing the grant writer into our network,
But-
and there will be no end to it. There will be no end to the grants.
Well,
So
there are
here's what I need
ending
you to
grants.
understand.
You can't say there's a never ending,
There's not.
never-ending grants.
So our budget.
And other
our
people
budget
will
at the
be
beginning-
competing for the same grants.
Oh,
And so
absolutely.
if someone else gets them, you don't.
So
So
I don't know what
what's
your
your backup plan if you don't get a grant?
That's where I'm going with this. So the guy that I brought into the circle, the grant writer, he already is speaking with private donors.
But that's if. What I wanna know is, if none of this happens, is your church going to be on the hook for whatever happens here and
Yes.
funding it? And
Absolutely.
how many members do you have?
Absolutely. What does that matter? I'm not trying to be mean.
No, it does matter to me because I want, if
Transparency.
I was going to finance something, the bank or whoever it was that was going to help me, they would go all through my finances to make sure that I was going to be able to actually do what I have said I was going to do.
That's
So
correct.
that's
The
why
bank-
I'm asking
The
these
bank would,
questions.
but the people who attend the bank would not.
The
Does
people
that
who
make sense?
attend the bank.
The people who go to the bank would not go through your finances, only the bank.
So I'm somebody
You're not
that
the
just goes to a bank, I'm not a neighbor anymore.
Right.
You kind of just did. You just did. My other question is,
Exactly.
is this going to be a faith-based program?
We said yes.
Then why are you partnering with people that are going to receive federal fundings where you can't be faith-based?
Well, because our belief is that we need to be a community.
But a community is not a church. If it's a church program,
There's a community.
why are
there's a
you
church, should
taking,
be a
why
church in
would
every
we
community.
have a federal government or a federal program telling us, no, we're going to recognize every gender, all 100 and some. We don't recognize a man and a woman. And no, we can't talk about Jesus in counseling because we're not a church. And that seems incongruent with it being a faith-based program to me.
So I guess my question would be to you, is the decision whether you want us to be here tonight because we're a church?
No.
Okay, so let's.
It's because of all the fact that you're not being very transparent. You're saying, if we get a grant, and when we get a grant, and now we have a grant writer that we just brought on, that's not really
I
transparent.
didn't say if, I said we're purchasing the property. we
And then
have
you
to
told
work
me that I was
with it.
just a bank attendee, and it didn't matter how many people you have going to your church.
According to you can see that, you can come and visit anytime, it's on Facebook
I
Live.
know
You can see
it is,
that.
it's 250, that's why I questioned, because I wanted to see if you were going to admit it, and you wouldn't. That was one less transparent act.
Okay, so you can attack,
I'm not attacking you, I asked the question, you attacked me actually,
okay, so
as a
your
neighbor.
point is what?
My point is, when the grants, or if the grants dry up, what are the finances that are gonna continue to support this property so it doesn't get run down like it is now, again?
New Hope Fellowship.
And New Hope Fellowship. And you have the ability,
We do.
okay? Then, can I ask you what your annual revenue is? No.
That's in our bylaws, that's members only.
Members
It
only.
is open at our annual business meeting. Okay, I think we're good for you.
Not really,
You have
no.
another question?
Yeah, my next question would be, the lady that was talking about her homeless shelter said that she knew that if she had a problem with one, that the two of them that work there would also be 30 other people that are back. Now that concerns me. How many people are gonna be here full-time?
Okay, so. We have security we have hired security from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Be no less than 2 people here at all times.
No
There'll be
less
more
than two.
people, no less than 2. Be more people plus the security, but there will be more people during the day.
Okay?
Okay?
The lady from Commentary, how do you feel about working with a faith-based program? Are you allowed to say Jesus saves, or there's a consequence to sin?
We provide services to people in need, regardless of the faith that they do.
I didn't ask that question. I asked, are you comfortable with presenting a faith-based counseling program? And are you allowed to do that when you receive federal funds?
It's an irrelevant question. We provide therapy, we provide medical care, and that is provided by people who are licensed. If that's in a faith-based, or it's in a assisted living, it's in the jails, the setting does not matter. We provide services. We provide counseling, we provide medical care, we provide oral health.
Do you agree that if it's a faith-based program, that sin is something that should be addressed?
That's an irrelevant question.
Well, it isn't, if it's a faith-based program, and if you're providing faith-based counseling.
I'm a provider of primary care, oral health, mental health, and psychiatry. Those are the services we serve.
Can you tell me, what is a woman?
We won't require those
Can you
people
define a
to do
woman?
those things. Okay, we're gonna move on to the next one.
I would
Thank
think
you.
so.
Thank you.
So will this be incorporated under your church, or will it be a third-party corporation?
It'll be a separate but a part of. Because of grants and things, it'll be New Outreach Center.
Okay, so then I will follow up with that. So as you go along and your plans, whatever reason, you guys, I support your goal. I think it's an ambitious goal. There's not a lot in the plans right now. It could go wrong. It could. And the question would be is, if it does go wrong, you guys sold the corporation and leave a homeless problem here. And so the question is, would you guys be willing to identify and take the liability for any of our property injuries or anything that would come from the shelter being here?
So we talked to the councilman over this area. We talked to him about putting some things in that should something change, because he was concerned about a special use or conditional use permit, I think, which is where the property is now. That's not what we're looking for, because with the conditional use permit, and that's why we're bringing this out, because it could have been pushed, honestly, it could have been done with the permit we have, but we're not. Contrary to some opinions, we're not trying to be obstinate.
Not according to
we're
planning and
unclear.
zoning.
Okay,
No kidding.
all right, so.
No, my question though was, would you be willing to identify as a good neighbor in writing our risk for property, health, safety, or somebody gets on our property and hurts somebody, and then we end up in a lawsuit? Would you be willing to identify us in writing?
I can't answer that right now because I don't.
No, he ain't
know
willing to
that.
do that.
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm sorry to throw your hands up, but I'm just trying to be so transparent. You're not, somebody he did. And so my point is, we want to be good neighbors. And in my heart, I believe that if there was a problem, what we've done in our other places is we've taken care of our neighbors. We're not trying to be terrible people that.
No, I'm not saying
I know
that.
you're not.
Yeah.
But, so I would just have to get counsel on that because I don't know that answer. I don't know if we can do that. You know what I mean? I don't know how that looks.
Yeah, but the problem with this is, if something does happen, you have to understand, I love you. We want to be good neighbors, but you have to understand, we're holding 100% of the risk.
And I totally, and I am not against you with that. And
Okay.
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
Right now, there are drugs that are happening on this property right now.
Yeah.
There are people coming on this property, there's bad activity that's happening right here all the time.
Yeah, and it's just not a very far hike to 55 through the woods from here.
Right, and
So
so,
I worry about the location as well, because that's a real busy intersection, and the property's really expensive, and I kind of also want to know, why other properties worth looking at. So there's cheaper properties in Jefferson.
well, we did look at other properties, and I talked about the one in Cedarville. We did look at other properties. We felt like this was a good place, honestly, because the majority of the properties back up to this property. I mean, we thought about what the neighbors would think. And the majority of the properties, their homes are at the other end, and there's a lot of woods in between.
No, they're not.
Okay, so the
I'm
majority.
120 feet. I am 120 feet.
I didn't
from
say
that
all.
field.
I didn't say all.
So that actually makes me more concerned,
Okay.
because we butt up 10 acres, we was going to build, COVID hit, we didn't build,
Right.
we butt up to the back. I'm not there very often. And where we butt up, that's pretty remote actually, in the middle, you know, there's a lot of people around, that's pretty remote. My bigger thing is a tent city or something forming there. And they could, like you said, we'd be there a long time and just increasing the risk.
Yeah, so, and that could happen if we're not here. If we are here, this isn't gonna be a tent city.
This isn't gonna be a tent city.
Okay,
You're not
We're
here.
not gonna have tents, we're not gonna have those things, we're gonna allow 18 men and 18 women.
But it's not here now. So you can't say if you're not here, it's going to be here. It is.
Didn't understand what that said.
Okay, you said if you didn't come in, that would happen.
I said it could happen.
Could happen, but it's not happening now.
No.
The risk of that happening is greater with bringing this in.
Well, actually, most homeless places are behind Walmarts. They're behind places that have facilities. They're not out in the middle of nowhere. They're mostly by towns, they're by Walmarts, they're by other facilities so they can get to places. They're usually not out unless they're in a park or by a river. Most places in our research is, actually, most of them are behind Walmarts. You can go, Dr. Huss, who started Country many years ago, he was at the council meeting, I know some of you were there. He said homelessness in Jefferson County is invisible. There's so many of them that we don't see.
And, no, that was just the point that we're taking a risk, and I was wondering, as good neighbors, and I really don't know if I'm willing to take the, you know, no, I mean, I support your effort. I might be willing to take the risk, but it tells a lot to me as a neighbor, if you guys say no, we take that risk.
Yeah, well, I think we have a risk. I just don't, I don't want to speak to it because everybody's taking what I'm saying and run in different directions.
No, the risk is, like I said, this is gonna be a separate corporation from the church. All you guys have to do is change its name or fold it up, and it's still here, and then we're left with it. And,
Yeah, so what I was talking about when I talked to the councilman, that we would put something, if we can, again, this is, you know, this is all stuff that I don't know about, on these particular things. And, Councilman Grodicke, talked about it, and he said, you know, if you leave, it can become a sewer treatment plant because of the conditional use permit, right? And so I said, if we can, in the paperwork, I'm good, if it's possible, to try to put something in that paperwork.
I'm not worried about, like, the leaving is a vacancy and it's what could be in our area if you're not able to control it, like you said. And, like I said, totally support what you're doing, but we're taking the risk. We run a risk of using more property value than most people putting in this themselves. And that.
Mr. Lonsberry got a pretty good argument on that he's losing a lot of property value. There is a report back there, that says property values do go down the first year, and then they start to come back up. That you can find studies probably for anything. I just want you to know that is there. We did also talk to neighbors. Did we talk to you guys in person?
No, our house isn't there. We just don't.
Oh, got it, okay. So, well, when we talked to the neighbors, the ones that we were able to talk to for a little bit, we talked to the people that, I don't know if they're, the Grahams, anyway, we talked to the Grahams, and, we said, you know, what would you like? A privacy fence or a chain link fence? What would you like? And so we tried to talk to neighbors and say, hey, we will help, we will do the best we can do to get this property taken care of, okay?
They're the ones that rent.
Okay, so you plan on going all the way back, you're gonna keep it on the front
We
half?
plan to fence the whole thing. The whole thing. The topographic, the topos haven't been done yet. We're waiting on those. There's not a lot of availability, in part of that. So,
Okay, that affects, so you're building all the way to the back?
no, we're looking at a building right here and a building right here. One for the men and one for the
We
women.
just bring a lot more neighborhoods in play in the fall,
Yeah, I understand. And that's why we try to go to all of them.
Again, I don't want to seem like
No, you
I'm
did great.
against, but I have.
You
I
did
just-
great.
I have
Appreciate
questions.
it. Thank you.
Can I ask, you brought the Grams, and I really want to ask you about that.
Pardon?
You said the Grams over here, you spoke to them about the property,
Uh-huh.
and they're right, you can see their building, their house right there.
They're what?
Their house is literally, you can
Right.
see it from here, right?
Yeah.
And I think when I spoke to Casey, she had said that they were backing it and we're okay with the fencing. How did you guys decide who to contact? Just by knocking on doors?
We
Because that's a
did.
rental, and this is Mr. Graham. He actually owns that house, and
Oh,
he can speak for himself.
no, are you Mr.
Right,
Graham?
so how did you
Yes, I
determine
don't
rental
think that-
versus
they're not
actual
backing.
owners?
They're not backing.
Okay, so are you the one I talked to on the phone?
No.
Okay, so you don't own that home?
He owns it.
I own it.
You own it, but the people who live there don't.
Right.
Okay, I'm so sorry. We knocked on the door and that's the people that came to the door. And so
Right.
we assumed they were the homeowners.
So that's
my
why I was
apologies.
curious how you decided who to contact and who to mail your letters to, because, there's a couple of them that they're rentals, and even
Yeah.
though they should have an opinion, they can up and move. This is, an
Yeah, who'd have
investment.
thought though that those
Right.
are rentals,
Yeah, and that
Who'd have
property
thought?
is very impactful.
I'm not opposed to it. I'm just saying, we thought we were doing our due diligence. We thought, because we looked at it, we looked at the property, we looked at the map, we said, let's go here, this is the Grahams,
Because according to the Jefferson County deed, it's in his name, not theirs.
Right, and so that's how we saw it.
Yeah.
So what we thought they were the Grahams, and I never saw him in person. He talked to me from his camera on the phone call,
Uh-huh.
And the white ones.
and the wife was there. So, yeah, thanks for clarifying.
Just thought you should meet him, because that's.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah,
I didn't know.
he's the one you'll have to talk
Oh,
about all that,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. Okay, right there.
Hi, I'm Sarah Sowersky, I'm the president and CEO of Ponyford. We've been the neighbor of this area for 45 plus years. We also own this property right at the front now. We've merged with Next Step for Life. Thank you for holding this event, but I do have a lot of questions, so I'm just gonna ask a few and give people, because this was the first that we were informed was the letter that we received. You did mention just earlier about the location, and when you brought up, you mentioned that typically these are located in more urban areas and typically closer. So what are the plans for transportation? Because I can speak to the significant barriers that we have with transportation. We serve 1,200 people in this county, and I can say right now we have a wait list of about 300 just for those we serve. I certainly think the project is worthwhile. I certainly think the services and the wraparound and the collaboration is very positive. We collaborate with many of these same partners, but I do have concerns about the access for people to be successful. Ultimately, I would want your project to be successful, to be a good neighbor, and knowing the barriers that we currently face, the barriers with staffing, the barriers with transportation, the barriers to access to services, medical care, dental, we have those same barriers. So given that, my first question is transportation and employment. I didn't hear anybody speak about employment.
Okay, so to transportation, we have a list somewhere of the Jeffco Express that goes through here multiple times a day in that schedule. But we will have 2 vehicles on site. We're not talking about 1,200 like you have. We're gonna have the 38. So that would be
Right.
postal services coming here for most of those things. And if someone wants to leave, then the deputies or us would take them away from the property. Like if they said, we don't want to be here anymore.
Sure.
We want to leave.
Is the goal, though, in terms of transitional, I understand the definition of transitional, that it's temporary, and you're helping them get off their feet and get So then, in terms of employment access, are you going to have enough transportation to assist people in accessing employment and ultimately to help them be successful? And what does that look like?
Yeah, so actually, we are working also with other groups to help with transportation, even in some areas. We're trying to work with some things to help the county. We haven't solved that part yet, but for here, we have people who can do the transportation. You know, it's not all figured out because we're not all there yet, but we do have 2 vehicles, we have those things we would try. And we did talk to, I don't know, but Next Step for Life a few months ago. So they did tell us that that was changing hands. And so we will be working with them, but it is a program to try to get them employment, and then we'll go from there. But we will have transportation. Right now, we 2 vehicles, and we'll have people that are paid to do that.
And I think I heard earlier that you mentioned, will be the executive director. So what has been the experience of your organization? Will this be the first transitional housing that you've run? What's the experience and background?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. Me and Jesus. No, I'm messing with you. As I mentioned earlier, I was the free labor. My husband and I have spent a great deal of time in Kansas City. I did a lot of volunteering. I've always been the free labor. I've always been out places, willing to see, willing to help. When I was at a church and homeless people would come in, I was the person that they called. And I would just point A to point B, do what needed to be done.
And this is a question, I guess, for Officer Drew. Statistically, where's the largest need come from in the county? So when you're receiving calls, is there one area, like the northern part of the county, Arnold, southern part, Festus, in terms of the need and where you see that, or is it?
Calls for service that we receive, it's been spread throughout the county fairly evenly. Also, there's been multiple organizations that's reported. And like Patrick Dan had mentioned earlier, you normally see a congregation behind your Walmarts, your facilities, 24-hour access where they can get in, stay dry, cool, warm, things like that. Major highways, I'll tell you right now, probably one of the most urban camps we found since about 3 miles from here that nobody in this room is probably even aware of. Been there multiple times, we have to contact the person, but we do know somebody comes from it daily. So centralization of the county, this is about midpoint. A lot of people that we deal with are trying to receive services from Hillsborough, or they come, like I said, from the major urban areas, Festus, Peabody, Arnold. There's a large group in High Range and Cedarville also.
And then I have lots of questions, but I'll ask this last one. What is the criteria for admission? I know someone spoke to what's happening in Farmington, and then what's the plans for how long they can stay? Again, I know she mentioned, but what's the plans for this?
Absolutely. So again, we have been working with multiple agencies trying to develop this because ultimately we can learn about what everyone else is doing, but then we take that and we need to make that fit in Jefferson County. First thing I want to say though is we are not going to go to Walmart and seek out people to bring here. I want to make that really clear because I know we keep talking a lot about that. We're not going out and like going to be like, hey, if you're homeless, hop in. That's not what's happening here. So I just want to clear that up right off the bat. But we will have admission standards. Everybody will be background checked. We will not allow sexual offenders on property. That is the good part about being a church. We can set some of those limitations and some of those boundaries. We will be doing, as Nicole said, everybody's going to get a background check before they get in here. We're not letting anyone on property that's going to be a danger to us or to you. We're going to do our due diligence up front as best we possibly can.
Before they arrive at the property.
If we can do it before they arrive, and that's part of our collaboration with all of these guys. If Drew picks someone up, he has the ability to run that right in his car. So before anyone would even get here, he can say, Casey, I have vetted this person, they're good to go. I hope that answers. What was the rest of it? I forgot. Yeah. Okay. And Steve?
I just have one question here. I'm sorry to cut you off. But so at one point, you guys were talking about the services, the dental, all of that
just as I think Sue talked about, no, those things will be available to sign up for, register for people in this community or other places. It will go through the registration process.
Okay, so how are you guys gonna, if there is an influx and let's say that you guys.
That's gonna bring a ton of traffic this way.
Like if we get over 36 people,
If you guys get over capacity, yes. If you guys are having people from the community and having the people that are already here homeless, how are you guys going to be able to handle both of those sides?
so the people who will be on site, there will be that limit. Are you talking about to the primary care, those things? Because they won't be allowed to come and stay here if we're over. If they schedule an appointment with Comtree, they can do that. Like you could drive here and come to an appointment, or with the health department if they were doing something. People can schedule and come here, but we wouldn't be adding homeless people to come to those things. Does that make sense? Did I answer your question?
Yeah, one more question. So
Okay.
there is a property behind this that has a lake as well. My worry is, what's your guys' plan of updating this on your guys', just in case somebody hopped the fence, decided, oh, I'm gonna go live out the road. You know, I mean, we run a business out of our house, and that's my, is how we're disposing of ourselves.
Yeah, so I think what's been stated is they're not gonna stay in a place where there's not Walmart and places where they can go. That it's just proven in our county, when they go to migrate to places, they go to communities where there's a Walmart, where there's availability.
Yeah, no, I get that, but what I'm saying is there's some, you can live off the land right here.
I hear there's coyotes.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah. I'm not saying, I support it, but what I'm asking is there a plan that maybe have some, security run through, maybe an extra officer running through every now and then, or something like that?
Yeah, is there a place to go back there? Like, is there a road on the other side, or?
It's really just all walk, that's really, what my concern was, is this whole area.
It connects to all our
What's
houses.
the plan to keep people out?
Yeah, so we will know who's here. If somebody comes that's not supposed to be here, they would be trespassing, and so they would be removed.
Is there going to be security cameras in place?
Read that, Mike.
Is there going to be security cameras in place so you guys can track who is where at all times?
We will have security cameras.
Sounds like an internment camp.
Over here, is there somebody here?
Hey, sir, real quick before you hand that off, what is your name? Because I'd like to talk to you more about that.
Oh,
Tyler, okay.
of course.
Okay. I just want to make sure I got this clear. So it's a homeless shelter. No? Okay, so it's helping people get back on their feet.
That's correct.
But then separate from that, we have like an open clinic, correct, for the help from Comtree and that. So how many parking spaces will you have? It's not just going to be 36 people on this property. There could be 150 people on this property at all times. And let's say they're coming for substance abuse. Let's just assume. Who's to say you're filled up? Where are they going to go? Are they going out there to that lake? Where are they going?
So when it's open, what that means is it's open for you to come.
Okay, me, but I'm not on substance abuse. But
I'm
so
saying
somebody comes,
primary
let's say
care
somebody comes
physician, or, I mean, we've talked to people in this community that have family that are on substance abuse issues.
Right.
So if they wanted to participate with that, what we're trying to say is things are gonna be available to people here, but we're not gonna bus in
right.
75 people.
But it is going to draw because you may draw some substance abuse to this area that's not, I mean, it's here, but it's not as
Prevalent.
elevated because now you've got Comtree working hours for dental and things like that. Are you saying, and then there's a bus that's going to take them back over to Walmart?
No, we're not picking people up from Walmart.
No, I'm not saying you are. They're getting over here to go to Comtree and to get some of this help that's going to be offered here, which is great.
Okay.
But I'm saying if they can't get back or they're looking for a sandwich or whatever, are you not going to create this community full of, some people trying to get, know, a shot for shingles or something.
Yeah, so Country has a lot of places for service.
So Comtree currently has 11 locations throughout Jefferson County.
Okay.
This would be another location that follows the exact same. You call central admissions, you get an appointment, you're scheduled for an appointment. The providers are on site, they come, they leave, but we are not going out driving, picking up individuals from
No,
Homeless
right.
Center Spring Care. But it is a health center that is located here for access to care.
Okay.
So those individuals may be residents that live here in the transitional housing. Many will be also from the community. It's simply an access point, and it will go through all of the same procedures that we have for scheduling appointments.
Okay.
Thank
And then my
you.
last question would be about that, nobody's really talked about the housing going down or staying the same and so forth. And you said you have statistics on that? I would like to
Back
know
on that
what those
table,
are.
the paper.
So here's what I've got back there, and I made enough for every household, if you'd like to grab one. One of them talks about a homeless shelter. This is an apartment that they put up and people go and live, right? There's no limitations on staying there. The other one speaks to a drug treatment center, which we're not gonna be, but drug treatment centers are also considered short-term facilities. So we're falling right in between these, okay? So I spoke with a real estate agent this week, and we are gonna be going and visiting. It's called the St. Matthew's House, and you can look it up, it's in Naples, Florida. We're gonna go take a tour of that because they're the only facility, well, one of two, I'll be honest with you, one of two, the other one's in Michigan, that we can find that are doing what we are doing. A 6-month track of getting you back on your feet. Now, I will tell you this, we've already done this successfully out of our church building. We actually had to place this lady in a hotel. Corporal Cruz called us, said, hey, I've got this lady, I need help. We partnered, this whole panel that you will see up here partnered together. I can tell you that she is now reunited with her son. She is in her own apartment. She is paying her own rent. She has a job with an accounting firm. And I just found out this week she's getting a book published. This is what we're after. This is what we're doing. She, to no fault of her own, no drug use. Her and her dad didn't get along. Her dad kicked her out. Bad situation. She's living in her car. Corporal Cruz comes across her in her car. These are the kind of things, guys, that we're talking about. Okay? So we physically paid her way to stay in the hotel until we could get all these processes in place and going. So this is not new to us. We've been helping the homeless in our building since as long as I've been there. People walk in off the street. How can we help you? We are getting pretty good at determining who needs help and who doesn't. All right? You with me? But listen, this is what I'm saying. People need help. They're here. And just because you're not seeing them doesn't mean they're not here. We're not after those people who are saying, I don't want help. Because we know there's those people out there. We're after the people just like this young lady that says, hey, to no fault of my own, I'm suddenly homeless. Just as someone mentioned earlier, a house fire, like that, you're homeless. Right? A natural disaster, like that, you're homeless. I've been homeless. I lived in a camper for almost a month in my brother's driveway. It's not fun. Right? And I had a camper, wasn't even a tent. But I'm here to tell you, one person stepping in and saying, I want to help you, I want to make a difference in your life, goes so far to this lady who's now reunited with her 5-year-old son. She sent me a text message this week when he started school. Guys, that's why we're doing this. That's why. We're not doing this against you. We want to be with you on this. So that when we start telling these success stories, it includes all of us. Each and every one of us. Yeah.
I just want to make a suggestion. If you look at the property value decline, you also need to take into account the median property values of the areas, because there's not a lot of places like this that go into areas with, I don't know what the median house is in this area, but it's pretty high. And that as well. And that's just what I'm saying, is I don't know if you can find comparable studies or not, because
You can't, because you can't find what we're doing.
Well,
Short-term,
bar-
homeless,
bar-
it's not out there.
far what you're doing,
Yeah.
I don't think you can probably find very many centers, even similar with property values in this. and the arrangements around here. And like I said, everybody supports what you're trying to do. Everybody wants to help people, but property owners are taking the financial risk in this.
We're taking the burden on it. We're taking the burden on it. Our investment that we put into our property, we're taking the burden of it. We're not saying that we're going to help people, because we do want to help people. I'm not saying that we don't want to help people, because we do want to help people, but us as homeowners, me and my husband, as you know, thank you for coming up and telling us what was going to go on here. But, you know, we just built this house. This was our retirement home. So all of our money now that we have invested in this house, and you build this facility, is gone. That's money out of my pocket. And I know somebody put on Facebook, was it worth a human life? I worked hard for this property. Hard. Every single week.
And we're not against the
Not
need.
against it.
The
Not
need
against the
for what
need
you
at
guys
all.
are doing. I take my hat off to you. Absolutely. Everybody in this room right here would take their hat off.
No, we
For
would,
whatever
yeah.
you guys do. Whatever you guys do, we take our hat off to you. But this area right here, Dan, this area, you got a subdivision there. You got a subdivision there.
And what about the
Subdivision.
school?
This is not a state school. This is not an area for homeless. I am sorry. I live 120 feet from the backside of this property. I do not want people walking around, doing whatever, and coming into our property. You said there's gonna be a fence. Don't know what they have. What are they gonna throw over the fence? And my grandkids gonna go out there and play, and they're gonna come up, Grandpa, look what I found. No. And concrete, all you guys help me. Grant, you putting a building in here? A medical building? You said there's gonna be a concrete in here.
They'll be setting up things in this building.
So this is gonna be in and out service for all you guys, for the public. If they walk here, they have an appointment, they leave, but they cannot get to Hillsborough, Walmart, Festus, where are they gonna go? In my backyard.
Exactly.
I'm not against. I am not against helping the homeless and the drug addicts. I am with you, but the need, it is a need, but not in this area. This area is a residential home area, not a commercial. And I had talked with you at my house, and you said, matter of fact, you said over the phone to me when I called you, what? No. When I called you, I'll give you a buffer at my kitchen table. What can we do to be neighborly? I said a buffer is that whole baseball field. I can't do that. And you said, you're on 411. Great, I was on 411.
Which you told me you weren't.
No, you see my post.
I did, you said.
And my wife got my phone. And I did comment on 411.
Somebody else does.
Yes.
So my
But
question
anyway, you said, we can't talk. Why can't we talk about what you suggested about giving you a buffer? What about all these people?
I want a buffer.
Giving them buffers.
You're right.
I mean, I'm not the only one here.
So, I'm so thankful that you brought that up.
Yes, because you told me that I did not bring it up on 411.
No.
You know what, Dan? I brought it up here.
That's not what I said. But the fact that you did bring it up answers a lot of questions. Because if you were really against a homeless place being next to your property, there's not a buffer big enough. What you're saying is if you can get some more property, then you don't care about anybody else.
No. Is that what I said? No, that's not exactly what I said. You're twisting my words.
Did you
I
not?
said, you suggest buffer.
I don't know.
They're-
You suggested a buffer. What can
I hope
you
they
do
realize they're
neighborly
being
when
right.
And I give you a buffer.
I said
Someone
we
needs to,
would
like,
put
settle them down.
A buffer, we would put space. Then you said, give me the space.
Because I said, a buffer is a football field.
But I said we would put stuff in between. Then you made the statement that we would give, that you wanted us to give you something, right?
A big buffer, and it'd be underneath my name.
That's right.
Not yours, because I don't want a building sitting right on the property line, because in Jefferson County, you gotta be 50 feet from the property line to build.
Does it stop at 38? Does it stop, the buildings, does it stop at 38 people being housed here?
It's 36.
Or 36, I'm sorry, 36.
18 and 18.
Okay, so does it stop there? Or if it succeeds, does it just keep growing? And, oh, how many acres is it,
28 acres.
28 acres? So we can fill this up with housing?
It's not our intention to do that.
How do we know that?
Well,
How do we know that?
you-
How do we know that
Okay.
we're not building and building and building?
Here's my
and
point,
building?
here's my point, here's my point.
I don't wanna walk out, I don't wanna be laying in my pool.
I allowed you guys to speak.
I know, hold on.
Okay,
I
hold on.
wanna tell you,
I
I don't
allowed
wanna
you
be
to
laying
speak.
in my pool,
So,
looking at back to buildings.
okay, so I offered a privacy fence at the top of their hill. Okay? I offered that. I offered that we take a fence there, we move another fence further away so that there's not people getting close to their property. Okay? At that point, I have not offered to give them property. Okay? I said, we would put another fence up, put trees up, whatever, for their 78 feet that they touch the property, is exactly what I said. And then.
Yes, you did.
We came outside and you said, I want you to give us this property from the dugout all the way over to the shed.
Did not say give, I said a buffer is all the way to the dugout. That is correct, that's exactly what I said, that is a buffer. 16 foot, ain't no buffer, I can throw a soda can that far. 30 foot, that's still not a buffer.
But my
point is this, Dan. Where do you live? Do you live next to a homeless shelter? Do you live, you and your wife, when you picked your house out, did you look at the community? Yes, you did. And I guarantee you, all you did, if you have kids and going to school, this is our forever home. And I do not want a homeless shelter here where our property value is going down. And
All of our property.
yeah, all of our property.
And so I appreciate your comment. I do not live by a homeless shelter.
Correct, because you picked into a subdivision property. Or you have 5 acres or 10 acres.
What
I
did
don't care what you
What
have.
did I tell you?
I can't remember, Dan.
I told you. that
How about you
my-
tell me?
Thanks. I told you that my daughter and my son-in-law and my 2 granddaughters that are 6 and 3 live 50 feet from a drug rehabilitation center.
At your church, right?
No, it's not at our church. It's connected to the church. But it is connected, but it is not our rehabilitation center. And it's 50 feet building to building from where my granddaughters are. So my wife and I have had over 65 people live in our home. I'm not trying to get you to say, hey, you're a great person. I'm a normal Jefferson County blue collar guy who believes in Jefferson County, and I believe that we should work together.
And we all believe in Jefferson County. We all believe in the community that we live in.
But every
But
community,
your daughter and your son and all your family that lives next to that homeless shelter, the homeless shelter was probably already there when they bought it. They did not come.
actually it wasn't. We
Did not
invited
come.
them, we invited them to come. To look at the records. And
You invited them.
We did.
Okay?
We did.
Is that your property that, was that your property that you sold the homeless shelter?
It wasn't. It's connected to the property owner.
That was your choice.
They offered to sell it to us.
Our choice, being neighborly, I'm speaking for everybody. We do not want this here, am I correct?
The first fight?
And I think people can make their own statement. Right here, since you're close, go ahead.
What you guys are doing, the concept of this is completely honorable. But this location is insane. How would you expect anybody to be okay with this? That's not rational.
Well,
I'd love to see who suggested this location, how it was suggested, how do you figure out these locations? Do you have a backup location?
Are you done looking then?
so here's the word that we get, that people say, we love it, but not in my backyard.
Oh.
And that's what we get. That's what we get. It's not in my backyard. I'm just being honest. That's what we're saying tonight.
There's a need for a gas station, there's a need for concrete, there's a need for Walmart, there's a need for everything. This is not a commercial area, this is a residential area.
That's why they want to be here. That's what she said.
That they can what? With transportation. Sir Mike?
It's dying.
Here you go. Take turns.
Okay. All right, so my question was that you said there's a gated property and that people can leave whatever they want. They decide they are going to work with the property or work with the program. So you said they are not allowed to leave by foot. And someone has to come pick them up and take them where they want to go.
Yes.
But what if where they want to go is just down the street?
Well, they would, so talking to Corporal Cruz, if they were gonna, you can hear me, right? Is that?
Yes.
Okay. That they would take them back to 55 or to the camp behind Walmart or, we're not, listen, we are not trying to be these
No, I
business.
understand that, but if they,
We want.
if they want, they said, you know what, I don't wanna, this is too much for me, I'm just gonna say, God, shut that up, whatever the reason is. They say, I can't hang, this is my deal, I wanna leave. And the police or whoever, you take them off the property, what are the guidelines as to how far away do they get taken?
They get taken, in my mind, they're gonna get taken back to Walmart or one of those places. No, but that's where the camps are. You see what I mean? If they wanna be homeless,
So they can guarantee that they're not gonna be dropped off at Ingram.
oh, absolutely.
So I say, you can guarantee that.
Yes.
If they say, I wanna go to Ingram's, and I don't know if the officers can time in.
I think we need a radius, like a mile radius, that they will not be dropped off within our.
I would gladly do that. My dad lives a mile away. We're not gonna do that. We're gonna take them to a place in, Festus or one of those things.
They're near resources where they can go to the bathroom and clean up or take food.
If they want to continue to be homeless, everyone knows the place where they're gonna be homeless. This is not that.
Yeah.
Okay, so my next question is, what if they aren't prepared or ready to leave this program at the end of the term? What if they haven't found a job, they don't qualify for a job, they don't, for whatever reason, they're not doing it right, then what happens?
Well, well, I would say there may be some situations, but probably we're gonna know that at 3 months or at 4 months, where if they can't, like if they physically can't get a job, then we don't need to wait 6 months to know that. Does that make sense?
So if some of them, okay, so if some of them are,
Are they gonna do another 6 months? Or are they gonna just say you're a lost cause?
that they've already, went through a program, like a 9-day program, and then they come to you. Are these, trust me.
Oh,
I have an addict in my family.
Let her give it to you. Let her finish. Okay.
I have an addict in my family, so it's very close to
That's
home,
why.
okay? So, and it scares me, because I just wanna know if they have already been through treatment, and now they're coming to your facility for help, and they're on their like 90 days, and they're trying to, because it takes a while for the brain to get back to where it should be. Or have they already been through treatment, or are they coming through treatment through counter treatment? Because I've had several members, I've had a member of my family, and I know some other people that have went through counseling and just failed. Because it takes so long to, first off, get an appointment, then 30 days from now, then now you gotta see a counselor, then you see a case manager, then you see this one. When a drug addict needs help, they need help now, not 200 days from now. Now you get some medication, and now you get to speak to a counselor.
it's on, it's just turned down.
This will not be a treatment facility. This will be your provide dental or primary care. This will not be a treatment facility.
But they're not turning away drug addicts, so. Right, that's all they're doing.
This is not a treatment facility. This is transitional living for individuals who want to get from where they are.
But if they're not gonna turn away drug addicts, they're gonna have to treat them.
And there will be a plan of care that they have to redo, and they daily demonstrate progress toward that, and if they don't, it's not a facility.
So if they board amended, then they come, they have to go to the country, is this one of those facilities?
No, this is not, this has no affiliation to any court treatment program.
Okay, that's what I'm wondering, because some of them are, right? Some of the countries are.
And they have areas to go. No, this is simply a medical site for access to care.
Okay,
But
that's all.
we don't do drug rehab.
From the court.
And I would say, like, we're connected with, a place that's a 12-month,
They're not gonna turn away drug
inpatient
addicts.
rehabilitation
So,
center for drugs.
but they're saying it's called treatment, so
And it's free of
if they're not
charge.
gonna turn away drug addicts.
No, it's not. Their website lies then, because their website says it's a $500
$500 fee. to
So
get
that's
in.
not free.
Many times we will cover that for them
Uh-huh.
as a church, we help them or try to get that help. There is a fee, but for the 12 months after the fee, okay, see, I need to be very careful. After the fee of $500.00, right, then 12 months is free. If it takes them 13 months, it's free. If it's 14 months, it's free, right? Then, when they graduate the program, they can come back and stay there and get a job and work part-time there for free for their room and board. And then they have an internship, they have a leadership development, and all of those things.
Yeah, well, that's not free.
Yes.
That's not free if you're working for your room and board.
It'll be something, we want to talk to the neighbors, because. Oh, I agree, but some said, well, we don't want a privacy fence, or we don't want a chain link fence, those kinds of things. So we were trying to talk to the neighbors. Once you get in the woods, do you live connected though, or are you in the subdivision? Okay, so we went first. We just went to the homes that were
They
exactly
was connected and went talk to.
And then this letter went out beyond that to the whole.
They didn't talk to all the connected people.
We went to the people that were connected. All right, we're gonna go to you. I don't think you've had a chance. We are timed at 8 o'clock, so we're gonna wrap quickly. So we're gonna go to people who haven't spoken. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you for your time today. So I understand this is more or less an informational meeting, right? I'm wondering what the next steps in the process are. We understand you stated that there are plans in progress. Obviously, you've made a lot of connections with partners, but can you speak a little bit to what you see as an ideal timeline versus a realistic timeline?
So it's at the engineer. It's at the engineer right now. It's been there for a long time to us. When they get the topos ready, they'll finish the stuff that they need to do for sewer and all of those things to get it ready to go to planning and zoning. Then we get an application to planning and zoning. Then it's scheduled for planning and zoning, and everyone within a certain distance, you know how the letters go out for planning and zoning. The sign will go up. Then it goes to planning and zoning. Once it's through planning and zoning, then it goes to the council.
You said you are putting in sewers?
Is it a treatment? It's a whole thing. It's a whole sewage treatment system. It's not sewers because they're not here yet. They're coming, but they're not here.
Rated on how many bedrooms? Will it have enough for 36 people?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. We wouldn't do it. The lagoon that's out here could cover some, but it can't cover, and so, yeah. No, it's done by the engineers. It's got to pass everything, and we're giving them all the information. We're not trying to escape.
And that's based off of how many bedrooms?
So it's 9, it'd be 2 people per room. So 9 rooms in one building, 9 rooms in the other. Okay? We'll oversize it a little bit, but we can't oversize it too much because it won't work correctly.
So if you're gonna do that, then why'd you say 40 units?
Go ahead.
So it's really 80 people.
Okay, so my question is when we first started this meeting, we said that Jefferson County is not funding this, but, my mom is behind me, her name's Paul McCain. You came to our home and you told my mother that Jefferson County Dennis Gannon is working directly with you on this, and they have millions and millions of dollars to fund this. So the department.
Okay, what I said was, that we have talked to Dennis Gannon, and they have asked us, that this is our thing. We have applied for grants. Part of that's ARPA funding, right? We've applied for Jefferson Foundation, where we are. There was another one through somewhere else, I don't know. But Dennis Gannon does not run this or have this. He's the person who directs it as part of the ARPA funding, right? And the council and that team.
And gets to decide where the money goes to.
Well, the council decides if we get to do it or not.
So the council, so I suggest that if everybody has an issue with this, that this meeting is informational, nothing more than that. Thank you to the 2 officers for your service, because we appreciate you and everybody else up here. My issue is with Dan Ross and New Hope Fellowship. You change your story depending on who your audience is, and I have a really big issue with that. I suggest that everyone should get involved in our county and go to the county council meetings and show up and let your voice be heard. You guys need to go to the planning and zoning and let your voice be heard, because your voice matters too. And I'm concerned with what their intentions are. And the blue shirt, what's your name? Casey. Casey, you said that there's gonna be no, sex offenders here. You can't really say that, because if somebody is deemed incapacitated or disabled, and they are a pedophile or are a sex offender, no, they don't. Not
If
all
they've
of them.
not been caught.
No, they don't.
You win.
So, with that being said,
So I can say, because I'm assuming you're the one who put the banner up and the letter out, right?
I didn't put a letter out, I put a banner out.
Okay, so.
I'm the one with the horses on see
I have
everybody.
never met Derek Good, okay? I've seen him really since.
I didn't mention Derek, but I don't
You
know
did
why
over
we're
the
talking
phone.
about
You
him.
did over the phone. You said, are you
No, I
with
didn't, I
Derek
spoke to
Good?
you on the phone.
Well, on the camera, did you talk to me on the camera?
Yes, I did.
Okay, you said, is this with Derek Good?
I said, yes, are you working with him on this?
And I said, no.
You
I
said, yes.
Derek Good?
You
I
said,
said, I
yes.
don't play Derek
But
Good.
that doesn't ever go there.
Okay, I'm just trying to say, listen, I don't know what I've done. You've looked up many things.
I don't know
And
what I've done.
and I'm glad, it was talked about, that I'm a business person. I'm sorry, that's a bad thing.
On their
I mean,
88
I'm a
property.
business person, but why is that a bad thing?
I thought you were
70,
a pastor.
almost
Well,
79.
there are plenty of pastors that are big business people.
Okay.
So, I mean, I don't know about your pastor, but it's okay to pastor and also be a business person. Those 2 things don't have to be, neither of those have to be evil.
What did you do?
And so,
I don't know.
you know, we're put up, you know, a lot of those things. I am a business person. I think it helps me. I think it helps doing things like this. Our goal, sole goal, is to help our county.
Since you know where my banner is, are you the one that's stealing all the signs at Welcome Week?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I haven't told people to, so.
Yeah, you're right.
I only do it with 1 sign and 1 banner. Most people call us, but I only do it 1 sign in Festus that went up right away in a subdivision, and then the one on the property.
Okay, I've got a few things. I think everybody here is agreeing that kudos to y'all trying to reach the homeless people. I have a little bit of concern because I back up to this property also. You never offered me 2 fences. You know, you offered another property owner that adjoins this property that. So I've got mixed feelings for you right now.
So,
Just based off of that.
Thank you. We haven't talked about those things. His property, when we did the research, his property didn't even show up. It was so new. right?
2 years.
Is that true though? I showed you the picture, I think I did. It wasn't on the,
It wasn't out there.
on the thing.
Google it.
Yeah.
Another one of my concerns is the fact that you've got Comtree, you've got all these extra resources coming in here. There is no way when you bring somebody in here, drop them off, that we're gonna be able to provide enough transportation to get these people back to where they belong if they're not in this location and they're not staying here every year.
Okay, so when
These
you,
two officers right here, they're way overworked as it is, and way underpaid. Kudos to you guys, just being totally honest.
there's what Sue Kirkman said, there's 11 locations. There's no reason for somebody in a homeless camp at Walmart to come to this location for services. They're getting limited services.
Where are you getting your homeless from
Well,
then?
when they come here, they get high, they do whatever they do. They have to
Where are
do-
you getting the homeless from
If there's
then?
no transportation, I back up right here, okay? They're coming through our yard, okay? I think that's where everybody's at. Okay,
Yeah.
would you want them to come through your yard? No, answer that question for
We
me,
got
sir.
65 people live with me in my married life. We let people come and live with us. This isn't about what I will or
But
wouldn't do.
these are
Yes.
people who are relapsing.
But that's your choice.
Yes, I have.
You want your grandkids, you want your kids.
That's
their
his choice.
Friends.
I've already said they're 50 feet away from my two grandkids. I've already said that.
But that's your choice. That's your choice.
Sir, I'm not very impressed with your plan coming across here, especially since you're so many mixed feelings and so many unanswered questions, being honest.
Yeah. And I
But that's your
understand.
choice to live like that. That's not all of our
You asked me a
choices.
question, I just answered it. Sorry.
And you bring up,
Yes.
That's not our choice to live like that.
My land was right up to the ball field here, and I've been there for about 49 years. I have trails on my land that my granddaughter, she rides horses on. I've had my neighbors ask me if their grandkids could ride their two-wheeler, three-wheelers on my land, and I said no, because I don't want to be responsible for any accidents.
Right.
Also, people up here with the trails that I have in my field, I mean, in my land there, it's easy for them to walk through. I don't want anybody on it. That's mine. I tell people, no, they can't. And you're not gonna tell me that these people up here are gonna go down there, because they will. The ball fields up here, they cut through my land. So they will do that. And you're not gonna tell me you're going to control the people that come in here. You are all Christian people. I'm a Christian. And you can't turn your back on some of these people. Even though you don't have the room, being a Christian, you can't. You will help them. And I think things will get out of hand up here. And I agree with everything. This is a great thing to do, but not here. I don't want nobody on my land. Call me an old mean woman, call me
I
what
would
you
never
want.
do that. You were very kind
But
to
I
us.
don't want nobody.
Very kind to us at your door. I wanted to tell you that.
So what kind of fence can you give me in my backyard over here?
What I told the person who I thought was you, was an 8-foot privacy fence.
8
If I
foot.
said this, if the county allows it, because I don't know what the codes are, because sometimes they say fences can't be a certain height. I think they can be 8 foot.
It
And
all
so,
depends on what it's zoned for, Dan.
I'm sorry?
It all depends on what it's zoned for.
Okay.
If it's zoned commercial, yes, you can go 8 foot. Residential, it's 6 foot.
Okay, so that's.
So what kind of fence is that?
Would be a privacy fence. So like wood, like a wood, I would do differently.
Solid wood fence?
Yeah, yeah. Okay?
will there be any advertisement or signs like from Baptist Park advertising where the shelter is? Or the rehabilitation center?
Oh, like,
Like a sign saying,
Marketing, and marketing, advertising.
just a sign saying what it is. You know, it's gonna say outreach center or
it would
anything?
say probably New Hope Outreach Center.
Okay.
It wouldn't say homeless.
So you don't
It
think
wouldn't
that-
say homeless. or
Right, but
anything
once
like that.
word of mouth starts, you don't believe that you'll have people being dropped off at your fences in the middle of the night or anything?
So I think that in the very beginning, that could happen. I really do think that could happen. But what we found is that the camps, even if they're at one place or another place, there's a lot of communication between those camps. And once they find out that they cannot just come in, so what I did, if you've ever been in the emergency room, you go through like triage.
Right.
You know, well, we plan to do that before they get here. We plan to have a phone call with whoever if someone's talking to them, if it's Corporal Cruz or somebody else, there will be a phone call. One of the groups is working on a system that will give us information immediately, those kinds of things. So before they ever get here, we will see if they will be a fit or not. So we don't bring them here and then say, I'm sorry, this isn't for you, leave.
Right, but
Now,
when someone else brings in
I
a
do
drop
think in the
zone.
beginning, there will be a few of those. But I think once they leave immediately and they go to somewhere, Festus or Arnold or wherever, that word gets out that this isn't a place for them to come.
So you have no plans of how you'll handle that when it
We'll remove
happens?
them.
But yeah, if it's not necessarily the police officers dropping these people off.
No, I understand that. We will
Yeah.
take them. We will not take them off of the street by being dropped off. That's not part of, so when people call, I think I talked about it, but there are all these organizations, Sue, I think talked about, that there's been this homeless coalition for quite a while. And there are groups that help different areas. There's different churches that help the people who want to be homeless, but they need a shower every once in a while, or they need laundry, right? So those would be things we would be able to direct them to. We would say, okay, you don't fit here, but here's where you would fit. Does that make sense?
You can do that without a shelter. You can do that without a big building. And you had stated that it was a 40 unit. Yes, you did.
Okay.
You said 40 unit, but more expectedly there was going to be 32 people.
Nope.
18
I said,
and
but
18.
here,
Well,
here's
this
the-
is why we are so upset, because we want to trust you. This is in our backyards. We want to trust you, right? But you tell us so many different things. Everything changes. I put a Bible before me and I will swear to you, you told me a 40 unit. Do you remember our phone conversation? How do you know we didn't record that?
No,
40
I
units,
wish
you
did,
said.
because I wish you played.
You
What
said
I
40
said
units.
was, here's what I said. I said, we're gonna house 38 people. I am not gonna tell you that if Corporal Cruz at negative, come back at negative whatever degrees, wouldn't bring me somebody and say, Casey, they're gonna freeze to death tonight if you don't let them spend the night.
Your exact
I
words
said,
were you were planning to build
I-
a state-of-the-art 40 unit program development.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
See, now you
40 units.
We're building
So what are
that.
40 units? 40
No.
individuals, what you said, 2 people in each unit, so
Nope.
which is it?
No, we're gonna have 38 beds. Let's talk that way.
You didn't say beds.
38 beds.
Okay.
18 and 18.
That's 36.
36.
Okay.
See, now you got me confused. 36 beds.
I'm not
But what I said was
we're gonna
that if
just
he
worry
brings
about
me somebody,
intelligence
I wouldn't think anybody in this room would want somebody in the room.
Yeah, totally cut us off.
That's just what I said.
That's not what you said.
Anybody else is saying about putting sex offenders and things like that?
No, yeah.
Oh, you had a
Will the
question
background
too?
check be done for the person?
Oh,
They
if
can
you
do
will-
it like that.
yeah.
And the other thing I'll say about the criminals, you only get people with a record doesn't mean they have a
Right.
And we can't.
I know,
We
that's,
can't.
that's my point, is
I
there's no
understand.
way you
I
understand.
understand that. In I'm sorry, we're gonna wrap up. In Farmington, we weren't allowed to get them. They had other things, but, the, people around Farmington are happy with what's there. And, you can research that. Okay? All right. So we gotta have it, so people can hear it, they'll show it.
The place in Farmington, is it built in the middle of all the subdivisions like we mark here?
No.
Is any of them ever built where there's all subdivisions all around?
There is a subdivision by, well, yeah, he's from there, go ahead.
I'm the manager of the English Center.
Stand there and pull face in the light.
There's housing behind us, and there's woods. And there's
There's houses and apartments.
There's some subdivision.
But are the houses like HUD houses, or are they nice, big homes that people have?
And so the reason is we're not looking for the transients that are wanting to go and do other things. We're looking for that group of people that no longer want to be homeless. So they're going to stay here. They're going to be here. They're going to be rehabilitated. They're going to be developed and those things.
Sounds like
We're
Nazi
not looking for,
selection.
and she said it about Farmington, they have a lower barrier because they're taking in, they still do the background checks,
Yeah.
those things.
The rest of them,
But ours
they
is,
shit
they
them out
take in
somewhere.
people who still are
Yeah.
gonna be homeless. Right, they can leave, that's not, we will field those calls, but we will put them in other places in the county where they have places for them. Okay. Yeah, do we have a mic over there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just wanted to ask about New Hope Fellowship in High Ridge. As far as I can tell by public record, it's on 11 acres. Was that
It's on 80.
on 80?
They have 80
We were on 77, and the people who sold us the property, he passed away. They sold it to us in June of 2015. And this is all on our Facebook page, I think, or our website. But then a few years later, his wife said, I want to move by my son. And so she lived on the property on a 3-acre tract, so we purchased that from her so she could go live with her son, or by her son. And so now we went from 77 to 80 acres.
Okay, so was that considered as a location at all before this location? Or is there a reason why it's not going, because the church is connected, is there a reason why that area wasn't considered?
Yeah, because it's in that, it's not in the part of the county, like Cedar Hill, when we were looking at Cedar Hill, everybody said, that's in the corner, that's not a good spot in the county. You know, our property in High Ridge is, you see a valley here, we have, it's 100 and some feet deep of a valley to do that. But more importantly, it's not in a location where we can have services like we can have here. By I mean services, I mean these services, not church services.
They wouldn't go there? They wouldn't go there? Like countries wouldn't go there, or the other
So
services
we brought
wouldn't
them,
go there?
we brought them to Cedar Hill, we brought them here. They said, this is a great location.
I'm gonna say, if you're homeless, and you want help, you go anywhere.
Yeah.
Regardless of, you know.
Right.
Bloomingdale, St. Genevieve, if you're homeless and you really want help, you go anywhere.
And you'd think the people up here providing the services would go wherever they're needed.
Yeah, I understand your questions, and I knew that those would come up. And I would be happy to show you our property and show you those things.
I mean, looking at the video on your website, it looks like you got lots of flat land.
That faith-based rehabilitation center is right connected to the property.
My biggest question is, does it stop at
That's because they're getting Festus and
36
But they have 80 acres and they've got 2 swimming pools there, football fields, all kinds of stuff there.
if it passes and it's successful, does it keep growing? And now instead of 36, now we got 100, and then we expand to 100, you know, smaller.
They got that kind of money. They don't. You know, funds and when that comes through the grants, like, I don't know, that sounds like an awful lot of salaries.
Small, or they didn't have as many beds that they have. We do not intend to grow as an intake for
Yeah.
those things. Now, I would say this, that we are wanting to help people, but we would not grow that part of it. But if there was an opportunity that we could have a part as they go through the process where we could fence off an area and have women and children where they would be safe and have a place for them,
See, there are talking about expanding.
that's down the road. But listen, it's all going to be on those plans because we're not trying to hide anything.
Well, no, yeah, because I remember you saying, because you said that you would like to do a woman's
Place
shelter.
for women with children, that's a safe place where they can live.
Right. Yeah, no, I remember
It
Casey
would be
telling me that.
more a place where they lived and worked, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I'm just kind of wondering, so if it goes through
Yeah.
like. if-
We have one more question here.
Okay, we're probably gonna have to make this our last question.
I mean, I just wanted to ask if the neighbors being concerned about their property values and the crime and things like that. I mean, I lived in big cities before, and I've been around that kind of stuff. And it is, I mean, is our concern actually being heard? I mean, was this considered before the purchase or thinking of purchasing it? Because, I mean, if you just do a quick Google search, it's like immediately, 3 things pop up that say what affects property values most, and it's homeless shelters, and then a couple other things I can't remember off the top of my head. But, that's a really big ask, because people do want to help, and they do want to help in their communities, but to say, do that because it's the right thing to do, just kind of deal with it, like, I don't think that that's very fair. So I was just wondering if that was considered.
Yeah, I mean, we've processed these things, and again, I'm from this area, and, I've had people talk to my dad about it, and those things, and so this isn't something that's not real to me. And I just think that my goal is to get something set for the county to be ahead of what's coming. Because what's coming is gonna be far worse than what we have. And, people can look at it, and I think you all get it. I think you all are sincere in wanting to help. But do you believe there's another subdivision? Do you believe that there's another piece of property where people are gonna go, hey, come on in?
That's why we have zones. That's why we have residential zones and.
Pardon me?
That's what.
No, that wasn't what I asked. I was asking, do you think there's other subdivisions that would say, hey, put a place like this in our subdivision?
No, I think there's plenty of land in Jefferson County that isn't surrounded by a residential neighborhood.
Yeah.
I mean, don't you feel if you have to have a zone change, or surrounded by residential, don't you feel like maybe you are looking in the wrong place?
Well, that's why it's going through planning and zoning.
But you personally you don't feel like you should have been looking in areas that already,
That are already zoned the right.
But you stop here and that's it?
Keep looking.
I'm not trying to be here. We feel like this is a really good place.
It's not.
Sorry.
Right. Because they built, so the land is going to be in New Hope Fellowship's name, correct?
That's correct.
So do you have lease agreements with Comtree and the Outreach Center then?
We will have MOUs with
But if
them.
this all goes to, and it goes under, and you can't make it viable, it's still an asset of your church, the land.
Yes. Yeah.
You told me it's a subsidiary.
It is, but New Hope Fellowship is buying it right now because.
And then you're gonna transfer it to a corporation.
Because we're in the process, that's all in the process.
So if you guys get sued, then you can just drop it.
That's not why we're doing it because.
Shady.
No, we're doing it because of grants.
Okay.
Because you can't get certain grants for certain things, so it needs to be set up for what it is.
So you're following the funds.
Wait, what I'm saying is, if you just said earlier, and you said if the grants don't go through, you're purchasing it. You did.
Our intention is to purchase this.
So were you then, once you do that, is it gonna change, or are you still trying to do that whole?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we want to do, and we want to do it here, and you guys know this, it's already been told, again, we really want to be good with this, we want you guys to be good with it.
We're not good with it.
You have a voice,
And we're gonna use it.
County honors that voice, I really do. I've heard many people say that things get pushed through. I was told by someone, Dan, you should just push this through. You can do that. You can do it with the way it's set up as a conditional use permit. You can do this, you can't do it as big, but you can do it. I said, that's not what I'm gonna do.
County revenue, because you're gonna buy the land before they even approve it, right?
Pardon me?
You're gonna buy this land before Jefferson County and Planning and Zoning has approved it.
The plan is for us to buy the property. We have it in the contract that it's dependent on planning and zoning.
Okay.
That is in the contract. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So we haven't purchased the project, the property like people
Pending.
said.
on
Right.
planning and zoning.
Okay. All right, hey, listen, I don't wanna be your enemy. We can disagree.
Oh, we definitely
There's no need to
disagree.
be enemies. I think that, you know, we're all good people, and I get it. I get it. I get that you don't want it.
I don't think you
But
get
there's-
it.
There's not a place where people will say, hey, put this in my bag. And so, I hope that as Jefferson Countyans, we can see the need, and we can move forward with this.
No.
I thought it would be a great place.
I think earlier you said that you don't mind, we're transporting people in and out already, right, from this location? So what's the difference from transporting people to and from on this location than it is on the 77, 80?
Two parts. One of them is, there's a 12 drug rehabilitation center that's connected.
He doesn't wanna.
There are some issues with that. The other thing is our terrain. It would take a tremendous
But-
amount to get it set up, right? This already has buildings, right? Okay?
But you're gonna bulldoze
And
the
the other
building.
thing, it's in the farthest, almost corner of the county. This is in the center.
But isn't that the best thing though? Like you said you didn't want them right, like in rural areas where they can go to Walmarts and they can go to all those.
Right.
You want them in remote areas, right? Isn't that what you said earlier?
Yeah, but we're 1 mile from Walmart.
So that's why it's available.
Okay, we gotta do that. Thank you guys very much. We'll hang out. We're letting to do it outside because we're thankful that